Well, I'm going to tell you what I foresee happening in the cryptocurrency space and in the cryptocurrency market during the next. Well, actually, it's going to be. I consider it to be a crisis. Myself about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. When this stuff first came out years ago, and I first heard of, and I came to the realization of how it functions. My first thoughts on it was that, great, this is going to destroy the bankers, and everybody can be their own bank. But my opinion on Bitcoin now is totally changed. I don't like the stuff. I'd like to see it fly away and leave and go and be gone from the earth. I don't think it's good anymore. But that's besides the point. That's got nothing to do with what I think about cryptocurrency and how I dislike it. It's got nothing to do with what cryptocurrency is actually, I think, going to do. It's going to be the strangest thing you've ever seen, but the fiat currencies have been put in a position where they're going to cause this to happen. If the custodianship of the fiat currencies had been placed in the hands of responsible people who had our best interests at heart, and they had been managed properly, there wouldn't be the need for us to convert over into cryptographic currencies so quickly. This is going to happen quickly. And when it happens, I'm going to try to explain a few things tonight, what I foresee happening when this happens, things that are going to occur. And people will look back in the future and you'll say, gee, he must have been clairvoyant or something. How did he know that was going to happen? How I know it's going to happen is simple deduction. It's like Sherlock Holmes used to use deduction to. He would go and he would seem like he was a psychic or something. How does he know? He used deduction. I'm using deduction. I'm using the same process to figure out what's going to happen with these cryptocurrencies and where it's going and the trends that are developing. And what I'm going to tell you about tonight, what I'm going to tell you about right now is something that for cryptocurrency holders, it might be something that really excites you. But, we're going through this downtrend in cryptocurrency right now. And for the people that are in the cryptocurrency space, a lot of them get discouraged quickly. They see the price dropping, and they're like, oh no. And they might even think about selling. I'm going to tell you, it'd be the biggest mistake. I made a big mistake. I sold back. Cryptocurrency went all the way up to like $1,100, and everything. And it went down, like it's doing now. And I got a little bit discouraged, and I sold off my cryptocurrency. Huge mistake to sell my Bitcoins at under $200 or around $200. I mean, it's a huge mistake. Anybody out there can tell you that's a huge mistake right now. And right now I'm buying back. Today I bought Bitcoin. And I thought I was getting a deal, paying, 100 times more than I sold them for. So I'm paying the price, I'm paying the lesson. Don't you guys get fooled. We're in the same sort of a thing that fooled me last time, and I don't get fooled twice. I'm on to it now. I know what's going to happen, but I can see where this trend is actually going now, and absolutely Bitcoin's not going to die. If it was going to die, it would have died back when I sold mine, and it wasn't going to die then. I should have known better. This time, there's no way this thing's going to die. This thing is growing this thing is like a malignant cancer to the monetary system. And it's exponentially growing. And right now, the patient is terminal. This thing is going to kill the patient. If I was a doctor looking at the progression of this thing, I would say, in fact, reached the spot where it's going to grow so fast, it's going to metastasize. If it was a cancer, it's going to metastasize so fast, it's going to take everybody by alarm. It's reached that point. It's reached that critical mass now. So I'm going to explain to you what I see happening. I see, honest to God, Bitcoin shortages coming. You heard me right. And some people out there say, hey, wait a minute, you can't have a Bitcoin shortage. It's a digital asset. You can't have a Bitcoin shortage. It's fragmented into billions of little pieces it can be fragmented into, so you can't have a Bitcoin shortage, they would argue. And I'd argue, yes, you can have a Bitcoin shortage. Bitcoin is limited in supply. All you need to have is enough big players who want them to have a Bitcoin shortage. But here's the thing. A Bitcoin shortage is not going to be like a normal shortage. You know, when you normally have a shortage out there of something, it takes a long time, the price rises, and it takes a long time to replenish the shortage. So that, like if you have a shortage of apples, it might take 2 weeks before the new supply of apples come in to resupply the shortage as they truck them in from someplace else or whatever, right? If you have a shortage of apples, or if you have a shortage of physical gold, even the miners have to resupply the physical gold into the market, and it takes a while to replenish the shortage. Bitcoin shortages are not going to function that way. You're going to have a Bitcoin shortage in the marketplace, and it's only going to last a few minutes. That's right. It's going to be a shortage of Bitcoins, but it's only going to last a few minutes. But what's going to happen during those few minutes is you're going to see a green candle that goes straight up, and I mean straight up and fast. Something that could jump $1,000 a minute. It's going to go up until it hits a certain price point. That price point is going to be when the HODLers get greedy. And the ones who want to buy, the buyers that created the shortage, hit a certain price point that the HODLers are willing to relinquish their Bitcoin for that price. That's going to end the shortage, because then they're going to hit the sell button. They're going to sell. They're going to relinquish their Bitcoin. But you're going to see times when Bitcoin goes straight up vertically for like a half an hour, going up like $100 every few seconds for like a whole half an hour. And that's going to be your Bitcoin shortage. And there's going to be multiple shortages. Or the market is just going to, they might have to even close the market and reopen it or something. I don't know whether they got triggers on the Bitcoin market. But if they do, they're going to have to, the thing's going to just, it's going to go vertical. Now, when it does this, it's going to keep going and going and going and going this way for weeks. We're probably going to see a price at a certain point down, not too distant future. I mean, don't wait until you're an old person. You know, these people out here say by the year 2030, Bitcoin will be X amount, like $100,000 or whatever. Forget that. Forget that. We're not talking about you having to wait that long. We're talking just in the next couple of years, we're going to run into these shortages I just talked about, and we're going to see this price shoot to the moon. I'm expecting in the next big Bitcoin rally to be almost as big as this last one, where we went from $200 up to $20,000. Now our starting position is much higher. It's probably going to be somewhere between $4,000 and $6,000, our starting position. But we're going to make just as big of a multiple upwards. So if you buy one Bitcoin now at $4,000 and you make just as big of a move upwards in price as you did back when you bought one Bitcoin for 200, and it become 20,000. Well, now it's 4,000, doing the same multiple upwards. So it would be like you buying, back Back when they were 200 bucks, how many could you buy for 4,000 bucks? What, 20 of them? And they went to 20,000 each. So it'd be like 20 times 20,000. What's that, 400,000 a coin? This is what we're going to be talking. We're going to be talking the price crescending up that high and actually starting to suck up massive amounts of the fiat monetary system. It's going to crash. It's going to crash the world's economic system. Nothing less. And this is why I think Bitcoin is not good, because it's going to bring down the world's economic system, and it's going to put us into some sort of a panic. This is what I think is actually coming. I think this is actually going to happen. And it's going to be fueled by greed. Pure, unabated greed, because everyone out there right now is looking for yield. They're buying junk bonds. They're buying anything that they can buy that get a little bit of extra yield. But the yield on this, when this thing takes off next time, is going to be absolutely unreal. And that greed is going to start, everybody's going to start to say, well, look at what happened last time. It made all these Bitcoin billionaires. Like that commercial. You want to be a Bitcoin billionaire? Right? What color do you want your Lambo? It's going to be that sort of a thing. They're going to look back at what it did last time and how many people got rich from it. They're going to look at what it's doing right now. Like, just look into the future 6 months. If I had a crystal ball, look 6 months into the future and see all this money pouring into the space, and the greed will come back, but this time it'll be much bigger, the greed. And you'll have your institutional investors, and you'll have your exchange-traded fund by then. And everyone in the world chasing yield. The money that's going to pour into that space. Last time it was 750 billion. This time it's probably going to be like 6 trillion or 10 trillion dollars. And you can't have that kind of money pour into that space without it having an effect on the rest of the economic system. Of course it's going to have an effect on the rest of the economic system. Everything else is going to start to crash. But what's that going to do? All that panic is just going to fuel the cryptocurrencies even more. It's rocket fuel for cryptocurrencies when the world starts crashing. That's just pure rocket fuel. That's just going to make it take off even more, and we're going to see these Bitcoin shortages. Now, what I'm going to tell you next is going to shock you. I see the price going to like probably 200,000 or whatever. Right, during this massive mania on the next big bull run, and a panic, and it actually cratering the world's financial system. But at a certain point, just like it's always done before, it'll do the same thing. It'll peak and it'll crash. But what it's going to be is, because there's not that much other places to go, when it crashes this time, say Bitcoin makes it all the way up to $200,000 each. When it crashes, the crash is not going to be, it's going to be the one crash in the history of Bitcoin where it's going to be it's going to be a flash crash, and it's going to ride up the other side. It's going to make almost like a V pattern. It's going to make it all the way up to like 200,000, 300,000, 400. I don't know how high it'll peak at. But when it peaks, it's going to be massively high in price. And then it's going to crash. Unbelievable crash. And it might only stay down for 15 minutes. But then it's going to surge back up. And when it surges back up, it's all going to do this within a matter of hours. It's going to create such panic within the world's financial system, it's probably going to jam the world's financial system. And this is where the evil part of it comes in. Because this is when the money is going to start to make the transfer over into the cryptocurrency space. All of the world's value, everything. This panic is going to, and greed, at the same time, greed and panic. Panic on one side to get out of the world's financial fiat system that's going down in flames, and panic to get into the world's digital cryptocurrency space is going to be pandemonium at that point. And I believe what's going to happen is this is what's going to cause it to crash, flash crash, and then come back on the other side. And when it comes back, it's going to come back higher. So when it flash crashes, say it flash crashes at 300,000, and it starts dropping like $1,000 a second coming off the price. And it does this for like, I don't know how long, but it's going to do it long enough to where it's going to hit a bottom. It's going to be just a spike downwards, and it's going to spike straight back upwards. This is going to be the death knell for everything. Everything's going to transfer over in a flurry of greed and a flurry of computer activity. And this is when fortunes are going to be lost. People who are very, very exceedingly wealthy right now are going to lose everything. And people that don't have very much, people who have bought in to the correct thing, which is cryptocurrencies, people who've never really, some of these people have never really had money before, they're suddenly going to be the recipients of the wealth that's going to come over from the other side. And this is going to be like nothing the world's ever experienced before, but it's going to cause such massive disruption. It's going to turn the whole world into a blinking Venezuela. I heard that that Bitcoin is doubling like every 18 days or something in price in Venezuela right now, even though the price is falling in the real world. But what things like this do is it creates a bizarro land. It makes it so we're living in bizarro land. But it's setting up to happen. I mean, for a normal person that thinks rationally, this whole big thing we had with Bitcoin, we're just getting over now, that we just had, this whole big bull market lead-in run-up to what we had, and the one before that even, and the one before that, when Bitcoin did the one before that. To a normal, rational person, it's not really rational. Bitcoin is I tried to explain it to one of my viewers, that it's kind of like, it reminds me of the bumblebee. The bumblebee is such a big bug and such tiny little wings. He shouldn't be able to get off of the ground. But he does, and he flies really well. Well, that's the way with Bitcoin. Bitcoin, when it was first starting, go back a few years, Bitcoin was something that should have just died, disappeared. I mean, why would something that is just nothing more than digital algorithms on a computer be worth anything? Something that's not backed by any commodities, something that's not backed by world governments even. Why should it be worth anything? It's like the bumblebee. He's able to fly even though he shouldn't be able to. Rational thought, it shouldn't work. But we've seen it work over and over again. We know now that it works, and Bitcoin works. And we know where it's going. We know it's going up, 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 and endlessly. And greed at a certain point is going to start to fuel this thing faster and faster and faster, and people that are looking for yield. This thing's going to be absolutely amazing. But the devastation that it can actually cause of disruption through every facet of our society, we could experience a complete breakdown in society. We're going over to a Bitcoin economy, and the transfer of wealth is going to be phenomenal. But on the other side of this is going to be Crazyville. Do we want Crazyville? No, we don't want Crazyville. So no, we don't want Bitcoin. But this is the point I'm making, is we've got Bitcoin. And we're not going to get rid of it. If Jamie Dimon, with his power and prestige, can't get rid of it, then who the hell can get rid of it? Because there's a lot of people out there, a lot of players who'd like to get rid of it, but they haven't been able to get rid of it, and I don't believe they're going to be able to get rid of it. So that being the case, it's very similar. Just use your logic now and realize that it's very similar to watching a terminal cancer patient who, and he still looks well. Say he still looks pretty good. Say he's still able to get up and function and do everything, and he looks reasonably healthy and stuff, but the doctor says in 3 months you're going to be dead, buddy, because you got terminal cancer. It's all through you, and it's growing fast. Well, that's what this is like. Right now, the system, the other system, the system of the financial system that runs on fiat and everything, is still functioning and everything. It's like that guy that has terminal cancer. But this is just like a cancer in the system, this cryptocurrency, and it's not going to be stopped at this point. It's going to kill the patient. It's going to disrupt your life. Even if you go out and even if you're the holder of cryptocurrencies. So you're going to be the recipient of this newfound wealth. It's going to be a negative factor in your life. Like what price is this new wealth going to come at? It's going to come at a price that you're not willing to pay. But we're going there anyway. There's no stopping this thing now. The fuse has been lit. Prepare for the chaos. This thing now it's like a trap. It's like a trap, and the fact that when it first started, we thought it was great. We thought, oh, it's going to take out the bankers, and it's going to make world freedom and everything. And we thought it was the most wonderful thing since sliced bread. But then after a while, we started to sit back and think, and hey, you know what? This isn't so good as it was seemed when it first came out. It's not what it seemed to be. But now at this point, it's reached a certain amount of strength and power out there that now who's going to be able to stop it? It's like a snowball going down a hill. Right now, even though the price has been falling on the stuff, that's meaningless. What's really important is how this is starting to scale, how they're opening up the Lightning Network, how this is starting to be able to scale, and how it's building a foundation in the financial system, and it's becoming accepted now. Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are becoming more and more accepted as a payment system, and it goes on and on and on. This thing is growing underneath the surface. And we're in big trouble, because the final end of this thing is going to happen much quicker than we could ever expect. So right now, this is maybe the calm before the storm. And when the storm hits, it's going to be a massive, massive bull run. It's probably going to be the biggest bull run in history. Well, you can imagine a transference of all the world's wealth into cryptocurrency from where it is now mostly in dollars. Mostly when people say how much is whatever worth, they say in dollars, even in other countries, not just here in the Americas, North America, but in other countries as well. When they say how much is my car worth, they say so many dollars. Dollars is the big one. And well, pounds is pretty big too, British pounds. And yen is pretty big, but the dollar is the world reserve currency. So, anyway, listen. Right now, what I've been talking about tonight is theoretical. But everything stacks up to make it look to me like my opinion is that it's going to happen this way. And you can, there's really nothing we can do. To be honest, there's nothing really we can do about it. Except maybe ride that bucking bull as best we can. A bucking bronco or whatever. Ride, do the best we can. to try to weather our way through it. A mess has been created for us and for our children. Thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next show. Bye-bye.